Beat Hearthstone. I'm out. Peace.
I beat Hearthstone. So good. Yeah. All right, let's do some Mekkatorque Workshop. So we introduced a new segment last week, which was something that actually Noxious invented, and it's basically coming up.
You've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to check out his videos, he's got a ton of videos on his YouTube channel with just a lot of cards that he's created in the past. Well, we're gonna start doing a little bit of this on Value Town, where we come up with our own card concepts, and then we just talk about it with you guys and see what you guys think. So let's start off with Will. You've got a couple, right? This week we're doing Priest. It's the Priest theme, so we're doing.
So do Shadowy Apparition first, though.
Okay, Shadowy Apparition. Yeah, let's do that first. Right, let me switch over here.
So the idea that I had here was I just wanted to see a couple of mechanics that we haven't really seen, and I just kind of built I don't know if the card is technically balanced or not. I'm not really worried about that. Okay. But I like the idea of pulling a card out of the opponent's graveyard. I like the idea of more graveyard interaction. So basically, it's 4-mana spell. Discover a minion from the opponent's graveyard that's died this game. That minion costs 0. So the idea is, so not only am I pulling something from my opponent's graveyard, I'm also discovering. So I get to choose from 3 options. But also now I'm also doing like the unstable portal kind of effect of then getting a bonus on that card. Yeah. So while this card, I think somewhere in here, it's actually, it's like, you could say it's like OP, but I don't think it is, because it sucks against aggro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's terrible against aggro.
That's what keeps it balanced, right?
Yeah. But it might be a one of just to tech out against other control matchups. It's not really a card Priest needs, but it fits Priest theme, and it just seemed like a fun idea. So
I like pulling from the graveyard. That's something that we haven't introduced quite yet.
Like Resurrect is cool, but it's this random effect. I really enjoy discovering. Finding and then also pulling from the enemy's graveyard is like very priesty. So I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting idea. But like I said, there's no way this is ever OP. If anything, this card sucks.
So it's like an evil mind games, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of that's like the twin brother of mind games, but in the evil form.
And and also the idea behind this card is not to fix Priest. The idea behind this card
it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Now we know how they design cards. Fuck you, Dills. Now we know.
I'm coming from the Ben Brode school of card design, where we just keep giving Priest crap cards over and over again, and then we tell everybody that they should figure it out.
Yeah. All right. I see how it is.
We said 4 mana. This card's a 4-mana card. Yeah, and it's and then you have it as an epic card.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that they would call this an epic card because there's so much going on, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't really care about. Plus, I wouldn't want to draft this in Arena, honestly.
Oh, can you imagine?
So,
honestly, though, I think there's got to be a world in which that thing is super playable. And like, how I keep talking, like I must be harping on this point every time we make a Priest segment, but if Priest ever becomes a thing because the metagame is control-based, Priest stifles the metagame. It smothers it to death until it just chokes on its own blood with Entomb, and it just does that. And I think this card does it as well. Like it adds on to the pain that Entomb.
Yeah, it's just more annoying Priest crap. Exactly.
For against control in a control metagame, this thing is busted. But as you mentioned, I don't think we'll ever get to that type of meta. Like as long as Blizzard keeps things in check. So
but I mean, as a one-of, I would love this card, and like I a long time ago when we were in the beta, the early beta, 8-mana mind control days.
Yeah,
I was playing what we were calling the milkshake deck back then, which was I just went all in on the steal your cards and beat you with them kind of mechanic.
Right.
And at this point now, I still play it in Wild, but now it's a Reno deck with like a bunch of random cards in it, but. Like I'm playing like Convert in that deck. Like it's just stuff that's just bad, but it's just
Convert,
fun.
Man.
It's just a fun deck to play, and I really enjoy it. You can do some really weird stuff, and this is a card I would love to have in that deck.
All right, let's see.
Now put my next one.
Let's do the Mortician. Let's move to Mortician next. Here we go.
All right. Here we go, boys.
Oh boy.
I'm out. Let me Alt F4. I'm done. I'm leaving.
All right,
Undertaker. What is this? What is this?
This is the card to actually fix Priest. This is Undertaker, but only for Priest. So I think Undertaker was just broken because of Hunter and Mad Scientist, but it actually made a viable Priest deck for a while.
Yeah, okay.
So I actually don't think this would be. I don't think this would be broken if it was only a Priest card.
So I'll explain to you why this card is bad and why you should feel bad. So I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Wow. So in a nutshell, we lost Deathlord and we lost Dark Cultist, and that's pretty much what carried. I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't print good 2-mana Death Rattles, but like our current card for that slot would be like Museum Curator, right? Like that's what you want to be putting in.
Well, it would be Harvest Golem, probably.
Well, no, you'd be playing like Loot Hoarder into Harvest Golem into.
I mean, that's kind of the whole point. But like the reason I think Undertaker had to be changed was not Priest. Like as you mentioned, I don't think that was it at all.
Yeah.
And like Deathlord and everything. So the fact that we don't have those cards makes the card fine, right? In the current environment. Now, my question is whether or not it would make a real Priest deck, right? Would it actually?
I actually don't know, but I mean, I thought it was.
I actually think it's.
It is. It's great.
Yeah, I like the name of it too, the Mortician. So this is one. Just so everybody knows, this is a 1-drop. It's called Mortician. It's priest only 1/2. Whenever you summon a minion with Death Rattle, you gain +1/+1.
It's literally Undertaker.
Yes, it's Undertaker. I love the
could call it like the Gravedigger or something like really obvious. Oh man.
No, I think you might have something there. Like I think that could help the Priest and his Auth deck right now. Just to have this.
If we're talking about why Priest sucks, it's because they can't play anything at the beginning of the game. They just sit there and wait for you to do something. And this, like, the reason why that Undertaker Priest was pretty good was you were just doing stuff, and then once you were ahead, then you were healing your minions and doing all that kind of crap. So yeah.
Oh my god,
this card was broken. It was good, but it wasn't broken.
Dude, this card actually makes the 1-mana 1/1 that gives like, you know, its Death Rattle gives +1/+1 to something else. Like a crappy new guy that had I don't even know the name of it. But like this guy's actually broken with it, right? Like you got a 3 and a 1/1.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Oh my god.
Coin that as well on turn 1, and then
geez,
and then
it's like the new coin Lepronome where you're like, oh god, no. Or like Mortician coin Mortician. The guy goes double 1-drop with Death Rattle. You quit. Like you're done.
New cancer,
like,
man. New cancer deck right here.
See how easy it is
to make doesn't get it with Mad Scientist. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, if they come out with that, Dills, we know where it came from because this is something that could happen. All right, so I got a couple here too. First off, I'll start with my Light Bomber. And I actually changed the stats on this. Originally, I had it as a 4/4, but I decided, given that let me describe it first. It's a 3-mana card. It's called Light Bomber. It's 2/5, 2 attack, 5 health, and Death Rattle restore 4 health to all characters. Given that it does an effect to all characters, I felt the stats could be, actually decent, for a 3-drop, which 2/5 is actually really good for this type of card. So the purpose of this was really just to have like flexibility, right? I mean, you could play it with Cleric, in some ways, like a circle, or at least set it up, and you could draw, or you could play it, just set up some kind of interesting combo too with Soul Priest. But more so than not, for both of my cards, having it be a 3-drop, I wanted the ability to be able to coin into Power Word Tentacles. Because that's what I figured. Yeah, something that can live. Because right now, Power Word Tentacles is a card that I don't think any of us have been able to explore. Because there's nothing that lives long enough for us to.
Silent Knight's not bad.
I play it in Arena actually.
Yeah.
It's in Arena. It's actually fine.
Yeah.
When you look at the card, though, you're like, this is too slow, man. And plus, when you lose Velen's Chosen, and then you replace it with that, you're like, how is this a thing?
It's like the dude cut off your hand, gave you like a finger. He's like, all right, I guess we're good.
He's like, this is just as good, right? You're like, no.
You're like, fuck you.
Okay, that's true. Also, this combo as well with something like Holy Champion. You could actually make something like it might be too good actually with Holy Champion, but definitely
coin Injured Blade Master into that, right?
Well, the issue is like having it die though, right? Like we keep talking about this dream scenario where you set up a combo and I'm like a 2/5. How does this die when you need it to?
No,
right?
you don't necessarily want it to die the next turn. So it gives you a couple turns to play with to set something up. Because if it just died the next turn, then there's no setup involved, right? So that's why there's a 5 health involved.
They have to kill it lest you get more value out of it than they want.
Yeah.
So they want to like trigger the effect when it's positive instead of a negative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something like that.
Hence they play like Flame Imp, Abusive on a 1-drop, kill it, and then they restore the health they lost. And then you're screwed anyway. But it's like
you're screwed anyways. That's true.
But I mean, the 3-mana 2/5 just baseline is playable for Priest. I think it's already something that's like how Blackwing Technician isn't good because it becomes 3 attack necessarily in Priest. Sometimes it's like it's good because it gets the extra 1 health, which means it lives, which means you can heal it, which means it's
like,
it's just giving you more board control. I love that.
And you can combo this with Aconite later on too, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Figure out
and they both live.
Oh, dude!
I think you have to make it that 5 health, right?
Yeah. No. This is what you do. Is you combo it with or just the corrupted heal bot too, and just try to figure out some interesting things.
Oh, Baron Rivendell Wild, the new meta game is real.
Right. Yeah, Wild, exactly.
Why isn't it 5 health though? You know, that could be cool if it was 5 health on the Death Rattle instead of 4. Because I think if Blizzard were to release this type of card, they would make it 5 just because it has 5 health. Right, like the aesthetic of it would be it takes its own health and just splashes it everywhere.
It could.
Would it be really that broken? I don't think so.
I thought about that, and I mean, obviously the 5 health would kill an Aconite, right? If you did restore 5 health to all the characters. And I don't know. I felt like having the flexibility to still use the hero power just gives Priest a little bit more playmaking with it. Again, with Healbot or whatever it is, right? Just messing around. But I did take that into consideration for just a little bit. So,
it's a cool idea, man. I like that.
Well, you know what this card is great with? The Mortician.
The Mortician, that's true. The Mortician, it does work. That's true. Oh man.
Oh god, the cancer.
Dills Chan combo right here, man. Like in the next release.
But I think we might get a 3-mana like Death Rattle minion if they ever print a card that's like Death Rattle synergistic. Yeah. I think they'll never print a Death Rattle like sticky like series of minions ever again after what happened with Nax. They realized that you can't have, and even GBG, like you can't have a minion that dies and replaces itself and still has viable stats, because then everybody plays it because that's the way Hearthstone is won. Like it's
just good value. Like you're just playing it purely because of value. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so the last one I have is it's a little bit more moderate, but again, it's a 3-drop, and this one's simpler and maybe something closer to something they would consider. And it's a 3-drop Eternal Priestess. It's a 3/3 body, and then at the end of your turn, just gain 1 health. So it continues to scale.
It's a 3/4.
It's essentially a 3/4. But the biggest thing is that it just continues. It has a decent chance of living, and then it continues to heal itself in a way, heal itself, right?
Well, okay, that's cool.
And again, you can play this with Tentacle too, right? Like that's.
So would it be broken if it said at the end of your turn, give all friendly minions +1 health?
I just think about that too. I thought about that
think about the way Priest works right now. Like, would it really be that insane? Because yes, you could say, oh, you get a 3-mana 3/4. And you buff other minions. Oh my god, fuck you. Your card is OP. But at the same time, like a 3-mana 3/4 doesn't get played right now. Like nobody would play that. So you'd be playing it for the +2 health you give to a friendly minion, or like the adjacent buffs. Because usually you won't have like 4 dudes on board when you play this. And if you do, then you've already won, which means it's a win more. And +1 health isn't impactful enough very often that it's going to let you trade up. Kind of like you could powered shield to stay alive and then heal the guy back up. +1 health isn't enough. And it's going to be at the end of the turn, so you can't just trade right away with your stuff.
Well, that's true, but it's not meant to trade right away, right, with this. It's really meant to just stay alive for a turn. And right now, a 3/4 stays alive. Like, there's not very many ways to without trading inefficiently.
Well,
I don't know, man.
Well, True Silver at 4. Okay, True Silver at 4, but what about if you're going... You're going second here, and you coin out.
I'm gonna stop you right there.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop.
All right.
Zoo Shaman, like, there's no way.
Zeus Shaman. I mean, come on, what? I mean, who's playing Zeus Shaman right now?
No, not Zeus. Zoo and Shaman.
Oh, Zoo and Shaman.
Zoo and Shaman just tear a 3/4. Like, when's the last time you saw a 3/4 live?
Well, okay.
You gotta play it on turn 2, and then it lives.
Okay, sure. Fuck you, Dills, and you're like perfect. The guy's got the perfect answer. Well, you know what? You're correct. You're technically correct, and that's the best kind of correct. So you take this argument, you win.
Yeah,
I'm gonna see myself out.
I do like the idea of like aura effects, because we don't really see many of them anymore. And like we used to see, Blood Imp was disgusting because it was a 1/1 that was also stealthed, right? And like it was just dumb. But like cards like Stormwind Champion don't really see play, and then the other was Raid Leader. Like, what are the other aura effects we really have? Nothing really sees play that's like a real aura effect anymore.
True.
And if this was an aura effect, I don't think it would be broken in Priest, because you can't really zoo out the board.
Well, I mean, it would be broken against Paladins because you dodge like equality. But let's assume it's not an aura effect.
Don't you remember that about Imp?
But there you go. It's just at the end of the turn then, or something, right? Then not a strict aura. that would mess up equality. But
right,
at the end of the
it would
turn,
have to be at the end of the turn, like you give a buff, like Young Priestess, but like board wide, right?
Yeah.
I think I'd love that. I think that card would be like amazing. As
you probably have to make it like a 2/3 or something though, because that is a pretty powerful effect.
No, I mean, a 3/3 is already undervalued, right? So +1.
Yeah, that's true.
Early game it doesn't do much. I mean, honestly, it's probably very close to proper value. And
well, once you got that Mortician going though, dude, Mortician never dies.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Priest is back.
Priest is back. That's right. That's the goal, baby. All right, well, we're going to do some Q&A in just a second, but I want to give a shout-out to all the patrons that have been supporting the show. We do have a patron for Valuetown at patreon.com/Valuetown. And just want to give a shout-out to Cameron McMillan, Eric Cobb, Ariel Tabak, Emil, Keith McLaughlin, Paul Hatchman, Andrew Parent. Thanks for the support. And if you guys want to support the show and want to possibly pledge some, go check the Patreon out. We've got lots of cool rewards and milestones there. Also, iTunes, folks that listen to the podcast on iTunes as well as Google Podcast and just Google Podcasts. I want to give a shout out just to CJ4290 and CMACUF for leaving 5-star reviews. It's a good way to help out the show, allow more folks to be able to find the show just when they search for Hearthstone, that sort of thing. Okay, let's take some questions. Do we have any questions on Twitter? Go ahead and I guess you can write out your questions in Twitch chat too. Noxious, you mind checking out Twitch chat just in case?
Sure.
You have some there.
You can read that. I can read.
You can read. All right, we have one question from Chow Anderson. What about Anyfin Nazoth Pally? Oh my. I think I might have seen Anyfin Nazoth Pally.
Anyfin Nazoth,
huh? Yeah, maybe once or twice on ladder. Like in this past week.
Just a deck built around bringing back anything you play throughout the game.
Anything you play. I don't know about Nazoth. I mean, I don't think you need Nazoth in that deck. I mean, anything just by itself, I think it can be effective.
Yeah, anything's actually still fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's anytime you kind of try to mix and match your decks, it's very hard to tune properly. But there are some ways to do it. Like Cthulhu Nazoth, I've seen people actually make worth, or like Yogg plus Nazoth or something like that. Like you can kind of mix and match, but every time you do, it's tight. You start to run out of slots for cards you really want.
Right.
So.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I've lost to Anyfin though, so yeah, Anyfin is still pretty strong right now.
Fine.
Yeah. Let's see. We got another.
It's not as bad as it looks. Somebody's got a question in chat that says, "What about a 2-mana 4/4 card for Priest?" So, like Millhouse Metastorm, when we're talking about that, but it would have to have a drawback. Something ridiculous, like at the end of your turn, deal 4 damage to your hero. Like more than that, even, because otherwise you could probably race, possibly. Although I guess nowadays you wouldn't be able to race. Like you might actually just lose it to a 1-drop and lose 4 health on top of that.
Yeah, like I don't know if the answer for Priest is to just give him some ridiculously overpowered card. Like I think the answer is just give them something that isn't reactive, that's fine, that's good, that's slightly above average.
Totem Golem?
Because all they have to do is bridge the gap between the early game into the late game. Like the late game, they're fine. They're gonna be fine late game. You're just getting there, and not being completely behind. So
yeah,
the answer isn't necessarily like here's the 4-mana 7/7. Like that's not necessarily the answer.
It should be. I mean, I think we'd all agree that we'd like to see a minion though, not just more removal. Yeah. And I think even Yang Wu was even saying in some interview recently that they don't want to go like veer towards the angle of trying to add even more removal to Priest, because that's just what Priest has always been, and it's not going to evolve Priest at all by doing that. So yeah, I mean minions for sure. 4/4 is just not elegant at all. It's just like just throw a 4/4 and let's take away health, which health doesn't matter very much honestly in the beginning. So it would have to be something health wise. I just don't even like that, just taking damage. It would be more like losing a card, like maybe something like that.
Yeah,
I'm down for a 2-mana 3/5 that lets me discard a card of my choice.
Something like
that. I am down for that. I will. I mean, maybe it might feel really bad because I look at like Flame in turn 1 and they just abuse of it and they trade into it and then you still get fucked. But I mean, there's worlds in which you can build removal that also like has a minion. You remember Light of the Naru, or Blood to Iker. Those are great examples of above average cards that had applications beyond just being a spell. So that was really cool. Like Light of the Naru, if it were around right now, Priest might be good because Embrace of Shadow's good. So
okay.
It's stupid how like that one extra card would maybe change the face of Priest. It's silly.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see. Okay, there's a question here. We kind of answered it, but it said, would you guys like to see additional content, expansion, adventure before each competitive season? Oh, would you guys like to see additional content, for example, expansion, adventures before each competitive season? So you mean
like once a month?
What do you mean by that? Yeah, I'm not sure if that's before December or...
It would be like, I mean, probably like not necessarily full-on content releases, but a few
just
cards.
like a few cards, like once a month.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that'd be fine.
Mind
I think once a month would
be
4 weeks to figure out stuff. I think is good, or a couple weeks, and then seeing some events would be cool.
Okay, I can see that.
I just want to cheat, dude. I just want higher levels for all of us that are at 60 and something that's beyond golden heroes. Yeah, just
golden heroes. Everything's 60 now.
Something to do. Come on, that can't
Legend
be that.
Again. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it
Well, I really want
like
just a tournament mode so I can log in and not just grind ladder. I can log in and just win a tournament.
Don't ask for too much, Joe. Come on. You're asking for too much, dude.
I want to do something in one day that's fun. And I don't want to sign up on a weird shady website to do it.
Stop.
Wow. You just criticized all Hearthstone community.
There's some that are great, but sometimes you go to these tournaments and you're like, who's running this thing? You know, I mean, some are fantastic, and those are the ones you go back to. But yeah. In the history of open tournaments, I've definitely had some weird situations. I'm like, what?
Okay. Any other questions in the chat here? Let's see.
There were a couple
here.
So I've got another
question.
if
you see any, just read them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Why do you guys think Blizzard has traditionally avoided creating cost-efficient board clear spells? So I'll let you maybe comment on that, and I'll give my input afterwards.
Avoided giving
cost-efficient board clears.
Blizzard has kind of always said that their ideal situation in the game is minion battles, right? Minions fighting minions. So they really have kind of stuck to that as the way that, like clearing the board needs to cost something that, because if you're going to take off like 3 cards off the board, then if you're making it cost like the amount of 1 minion or something like that, then that's, that's not exactly what they're going for. They want you to be like putting minions on the board, fighting with the other minions on the board, and having like that little puzzle every turn. So they really kind of stuck to that, I think. Magic, you've got these cards that are just like, yep, kill everything, and then I play something else this turn because I also have like infinite mana combos. Like, there's all kinds of weird stuff you can do in Magic, and a lot of that is built around efficiency. But they want you to put minions on the board and then battle other minions. They've kind of come out and said that many times.
So is the question more about it being cost efficient or just board clears in general? So
well, I mean, Twisting Nether exists. Yeah. The question is, why did they not make a Twisting Nether that's like 4 mana, right? But like that's the question he's asking.
Yeah, but Twisting Nether for 4 mana is just ridiculously good.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not. It isn't.
Yeah. But when 10 mana is the most you can ever have, right? When 10 mana is the most you can ever have, something that costs 8 mana is like always expensive.
Yeah.
Well, okay, from that standpoint, yeah. But if you're talking about just value gained from that play, dude, 4 mana is
I mean, you're thinking in the context of Hearthstone. Imagine we're in Nax Romus and GVG, and there's a card like Twisting Nether for 4 mana. Is it broken? My answer to that is no. Finally, I have a way to fucking clear off all these minions at some point. So it's a matter of context. And like the thing is, they would have to then make minions that adapt to the removal, as opposed to doing it the other way around, which is make spot removal that adapts to minions. Right now, like or the other way around, that is, because one of the things they've done is make it so much about the minions that there's really no efficient removal that exists. Like there's really none, honestly. Like right now. When Assassinate is a way you kill a minion, like Hex is the next best thing. Like the most efficient removal is probably Hex. Like of all the ones that exist, right?
You talking about single, or are you talking about even mass removal?
Like just a single removal, and Hex costs you 3, right? Yeah. Hex costs you 3. So if I told you mass Hex, how much would you price that? Like in Hearthstone, you literally couldn't find it a good cost because it's broken as hell in the context of this game.
Sure.
And it's just because playing 1 card is so much resource investment.
So Noxious brings up the 4 mana board wipe.
Yeah.
There's literally a card in Magic called Wrath of God.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is a 4 mana.
It's 4 mana.
Destroy
They
all
remade
creatures.
it.
It's literally what that is. Yeah. And it's not really broken. It's actually fine.
Yeah, in Magic, which is kind of what I'm getting at, is that, like, in Hearthstone, one of the big issues is that every single card you draw is live. Like, you want top deck lands, for instance. So, as a result of that, if a control deck gets a cost-efficient board clear, it's broken because the next card they draw is a threat or another removal. So they can just keep streaking into either big stuff or complete board clears. Hence why you can't have cost-efficient removal in Hearthstone. Yeah. It's all got to do with the resource management part of the game, which is weird because it doesn't look like it's tied to that, but that's kind of what it is. Like, if the card said, you know, wipe the board and you skip your next 2 draws, suddenly, like, a 4-mana board clear isn't that bad. Like, you're okay with it. Like, it's
obviously, like, it's not a one-to-one comparison between Magic and Hearthstone, but like there is concepts that actually do work in Magic that we just don't really see in Hearthstone that actually I think could work. It's just a matter of that being the norm and not totally weird. Like when we put the 2 cards next to each other, obviously it's like, what the hell? How do you have one for 8 and this one 4? You know, but if that was the norm, like, it wouldn't be that weird, you know.
Dude, so that sounds way too powerful to me. No, because
in a world where Twisting Nether is 8, obviously it is.
No, forget Twisting Nether. Just forget Twisting Nether. The ability to, I mean, it's one thing if it's like, you know, 3 mana, 4 mana, even 2 mana, whatever, to remove 1 minion. But we're talking about 4 mana to to remove 1 minion or just a board full of minions. I mean, that's not cost efficient. That's cost OP is what that is.
Wild Pyro Equality, like, is a great...
2 cards, though. At least you're spending 2 cards. Like, and...
Yeah. But my point is that that's why Light Bomb was broken in the context of Hearthstone. Like, because every single card the control deck draws is going to be a way to fuck you up afterwards.
Brawl is still kind of broken, honestly, even at this point. But, you know, we just deal with it. We just know that it's out there.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, just your ability to randomly maybe get, you know, just that crazy outcome, right? Yeah. I think softens just the value, just the OP-ness, I guess, of it.
Yeah. So I guess like the last point I'll make on this theme is Hearthstone is currently a game about minion combat.
Yeah.
If a card for if a card was made for 4 mana to clear the board, the game would not become about minion combat, but about, you know, spell and removal. So it would be quote unquote a control game about resource management, and that is not the game that Blizzard wants to make. Going back to the point that Dills, you know, brought up, so it's just a design philosophy. They could absolutely make a 4 mana board clear the same way they made a 4 mana 7/7. They could, but they chose not to. And it's not because it's broken; it's because they don't want that to become the framework within which.
Well, it's why tempo is so friggin' important in Hearthstone, you know, just putting stuff on the board. Like, the way to beat a lot of decks is to not play around stuff and just go, you know. And like we talked about the board clearing ability of the Paladin. When I play against the Paladin like that deck, I just make them have it, you know. I just force them to have that card.
Right. Yep.
And if they don't have it, I just win the game, you know. So it's because of the, you know, the way we've costed removal in Hearthstone that the minion combat and the tempo has become kind of the end all of everything. So, but it's okay. I mean, they shouldn't be the same game. They should be different games. And I enjoy Hearthstone probably more than Magic in some respects. So,
agreed. I think they have different attractions.
Like I like to play Commander in Magic because it's just like weird, crazy stuff happens. And then Hearthstone, I come and I play Zoo, and I'm like, yeah, this is fun. Look at this. Look, I'm putting minions on the board.
Yeah. All right. So we got a question here to you, Noxious. Did you guys see the card leaks on Reddit? Were there any card leaks?
The card leaks for what? For Karazhan?
Yeah, I didn't see anything about card leaks. I don't see anything either. Okay.
I've heard nothing of
me
card
either
leaks at all.
They're probably fake.
Yeah, they're probably fake at this point. I would imagine. You never know, though. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, who asked? Because maybe we can narrow down what post it is, but I've never seen those.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Okay, how about one more question? Okay, here's one by Jabberwacker. That's fine. How would you feel about priests given absorption shield instead of heal with their hero power? Akin to armor, but stackable on minions in your hero too, in other words. That
was a concept that was explored like very, very long ago, I think.
I was actually gonna make that card as one of my cards was you know, you can turn into like a shadow priest with shadow form. So my idea was to turn into a discipline priest, where if a minion is at full health, rather than healing them, you actually put a shield on them.
You put divine shield on them.
Yeah, so your hero power literally becomes heal for 2, or put a shield on a full health minion.
I like that.
So you turn yourself into a disc priest, essentially. I thought it could be a fun idea.
That would be really strong too.
It would be, but I mean, there's a lot of times when the hero power just doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah,
and now
totally.
It's always going to do something.
Well, and people would like hunters and stuff would contemplate on just damaging you, right? At least in the
just to remove the shield.
Yeah, just
like
to not give you the ability
damage,
to do
so you couldn't shield them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be. I mean, I think it would be an interesting kind of concept. Obviously, you'd have to pay to just turn your hero power into that. But it's like just a car-ish, something like that. So
yeah,
but not just a spell.
Yeah,
I like anything that lets me improve. The thing is, like, the hero power for priest is actually a bit broken already for like minion combat. But the issue is they don't have good minions, so maybe that would help them play those control decks more effectively.
Okay, yeah, that's good ideas, guys. This is good stuff. Definitely good stuff. But why don't we kind of wrap up the show? Thanks everybody for writing out your questions. And again, for next week, if you guys want to write in questions early or whatnot, it doesn't actually have to be live during the show. You can email me or email Valuetown at valuetown@chanmanv.tv, and I'll try to read out some of them that we got last week. There's actually one that I forgot to mention this week, so I'm gonna have to actually bring it up next week. So I apologize for that, emailers. I'm still not used to this whole email thing. I usually don't do the email thing. I usually just take questions live. But why don't we wrap up the show? Dills, a lot of fun. I expected it to be a lot of fun just because, we just always have good conversations.
Yeah,
so any shout-outs you want to do, or where can everybody find you?
I'm at Willie Dills on Twitter. Shout out to my co-hosts on The Angry Chicken, The Instance, Stormcast, and my Giants podcast, Torturecast. All my people that I podcast with are fantastic. Check out any of those shows if you're into Blizzard games or you like the San Francisco Giants. And then if you want to check me out on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/WillieDillsSF. Even though I live in Austin, still rock that SF.
Fine.
Still rocking the SF.
Dude, you gotta start becoming a Horns fan, man. Horns is where it's at.
Actually, I was never into college football because my college didn't have a football team.
Yeah.
But now here it's like you have to be.
Oh, yeah,
it's just required by law that you like the Longhorns. Yeah.
Tailgating and stuff, dude. Saturdays are the place to be. It's for sure.
Hell yeah.
Noxious, how about you, man?
Yeah, just a big shout out to Complexity as usual for just supporting me in general. If you want to watch my YouTube content, it's Noxious Jelly Chef on YouTube. You'll find me there. And I guess shout out to ChanManV for putting this episode together again. All the topics. I didn't get to make any Mekkatorque Workshop cards, so good job, guys.
It's okay. You carried us last week. You carried us last week, so
sure. But I think your cards were really cool. Honestly, like, it's good to see that people come up with. Like, the concepts that you brought forward weren't even completely out of this world. Sometimes people just make interesting cards in their mind, and it's like, all right, I'm going to make this 2-drop that, like, if you have 27 health, it does this. But if you have, like, 28.2, it does this.
Cool,
it's like,
man.
Too much. Like, it's too much on the card. And it's just great to see, like, the simplicity and, like, elegance put into a card design. So,
I really dug deep for that Mortician, man.
Dude,
I could
just
tell.
Right, dude. That's just
but,
right.
Like, honestly, though, like, for all the viewers and listeners, I urge you to just think about that kind of stuff, right? Like, card design in general is fantastic. It's great to have a little bit of interest, at least in that area, because it gives you a new perspective in what's possible in Hearthstone, as opposed to just, accepting a card as it is and being like, okay, that's the way it has to be balanced. Just think about all the things you can do to modify the game, and you'll enjoy it even more. I think it's a super cool exercise.
I've confirmed this with all the people at Blizzard. They do look at those community-made cards. Like, they check those out all the time.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about idea sharing. It's like there's hundreds of millions of us in the community, and there's how many over there on the Hearthstone team? There's not that many. So I'm sure there's got to be unique ideas that come from millions of people that they haven't thought about. So just always discuss cards. It's always really, really great, and that's why I think this segment's always a lot of fun. But yeah, I'll round on things out. Thanks to both of you guys for coming on. Dills, again, first time on. Noxious doing it with me every week, my partner in crime here. It's always a pleasure doing the show with you, Noxious. And everybody else that's watched or is listening to the show, appreciate you guys, just keep on supporting the show and listening and all that good stuff. Let me know again. Like, you can email stuff, any kind of feedback or any questions that you want to be asked next week at Valuetown at ChanManV.tv, and you can find the VODs on YouTube.com/ChanManV, probably about an hour and a half after this, and then the audios will be available tomorrow because it always takes so long to refresh. Find that on iTunes and Google Podcasts. But that's, actually, I want to give a shout out also to our sponsors, our sponsor Tempo Storm, for sponsoring the podcast, and I think that's it, guys, for this week. So for Dills, Noxious, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next time. Later.